The content of this video is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition, and always get proper treatment for serious medical conditions. Greetings, superior beings, greetings, supreme being, where all the human race are common enemies, death welcome on perfect society. You are watching the broadcast. F.D.A. warns 7 companies to stop claiming silver and other products treat coronavirus. Why not all? Meaning, why not all companies? So, what I'm referring to here is the New York Times article. This is the New York Times article, and I'm not gonna read the whole article. People have to be members to be able to read the whole article, and it could be copyright infringement. Otherwise I would read the whole article. If I get an email or Skype Prologic 999 from New York Times that I am allowed to use their articles, then I would. So I can only show you the title. FDA warns 7 companies to stop claiming silver and other products treat coronavirus. The Food and Drug Administration and the Federal Trade Commission said the claims threaten public health because consumers might stop or delay appropriate medical treatment. I think that is not true in most cases. And perhaps that's never the case, because people that are smart enough to use colloidal silver would get proper treatment. And I'm going into the evidence that shows that colloidal silver kills the SARS coronavirus. Scientific data, they have none. I will get into that later. And then I wonder, here they write the companies that received the warnings were Vital Silver, Quinescence Aromatherapy, Xephyr Energetics, Guru Nanda Vivify Holistic Clinic, Herbal Army, and the Jim Becker Show. A joint statement. That sounds pretty tempting. But why not all colloidal silver companies? So apparently it's not enough reason to totally take colloidal silver off the markets. I've already covered the LD50, etc., the health benefits. I use colloidal silver regularly myself. I've done the disclaimer, it's clear I'm not a doctor. And when people have serious symptoms, they have to go to the first aid immediately. And in the Netherlands, they're insured if they go to the first aid, no matter what hospital they're going to. So I think that people that use colloidal silver use it as a preventive measure, mainly in the flu season. We also read this on websites of people that sell colloidal silver products. For example, Pure Colloids Co. UK. Any publicity is good publicity, they say. And I've covered the let's wait for it to load. Wait for it. And back, why is it so slow? Normally it goes faster. The case studies that we see here, basically. And this also talks about silver compound in countertops eliminates SARS virus. And there's another one on silveredge.com. Perhaps I should also show that then. But I've shown it in previous broadcasts, so I don't want to make repetitive content. But that's also about feline, some kind of disease that affects cats, and that involves the coronavirus, a coronavirus as well. And this coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, is genetically related to SARS, according to the professor. So let's not waste time. Let's go to the articles that I'm going to cover in this broadcast. One is on firstcenturychristian.com. The FDA admits it has no clinical data suggesting colloidal silver is unsafe for human use. Below is a previous inquiry to the FDA regarding the safety of colloidal silver by Dr. Johnson. I'm making this broadcast because I had somebody in the chat that had chat remarks asking why would the FDA do this. Well, what if the FDA is controlled by the population reduction NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, and not by the people? The other article I want to get into is on ANH, Alliance for Natural Health, anh-usa.org. FDA protects big pharma products by declaring that silver has no therapeutic value. And basically they're claiming the same thing they were claiming in 1996. So let's start with this article. Perhaps it's best if I let the speech engine read it with the whole address and everything on it, the correspondence. Okay. As we all know, when I start up Open Broadcaster software, then often my camera is not working, and then I have to sometimes restart the PC even to get it to work. But it's no problem, I can restart the text-to-speech engine very fast. And then we can start reading now, supposedly.
Invive mild silver protein resource page. The FDA admits it has no clinical data suggesting colloidal silver is unsafe for human use. Below is a previous inquiry to the FDA regarding the safety of colloidal silver. Dr. Johnson. October 14, 1999. Food and Drug.
I don't know if they mix in a protein, but I advise people not to mix it with anything, especially not salt, and not to expose it to sunlight, and to follow the instructions on the bottle to not supersede, to not take more than the maximum dosage that is advised. And sometimes that's too high, they first have to build up, and also use probiotics. People that choose to immunize themselves with colloidal silver have to use probiotics. And I will show you the bottle that I have here, but there are many different types. Also yogurt may contain the good bacteria that your gut needs to digest food, and these bacteria are killed by the colloidal silver, so that's why we need to do that. But okay, then it begins with the address of US Department of Health and Human Services. So this is a letter from someone to well, is that even the FDA? This is the FDA's response, Public Health Service, Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. Alright, well, we can check that. Let's read it.
Administration, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Public Health Service, 5600 Fishers Lane, Rockville, Maryland 20857. Dear Sirs, Madam, pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act and in regard your August 17, 1999 ruling regarding colloidal silver, Could you please supply the following documentation on which you based your decision? 1. The number of deaths related to the consumption of colloidal silver. 2. The number of allergic reactions to the consumption of colloidal silver. 3. The number of harmful drug interactions from both OTC and prescription drugs when combined with colloidal silver. 4. The number of reported cases of argyria from colloidal silver made with the AC or DC electrical process. 5. The number of cases of argyria from colloidal silver that did not contain protein stabilizers. Thank you for your time and consideration of this request. Sincerely. The FDA's response. Public Health Service Center for Drug Evaluation and Research Office of Training and Communication Freedom of Information Staff HFD 205, 5600 Fishers Lane 12B05 Rockville, Maryland 20857, Department of Health and Human Services, November 3, 1999. In response refer to file, F9922589, name removed Washington 98408, Dear, name removed. This is in response to your request of October 14, 1999, in which you requested adverse events associated with the use of colloidal silver. Your request was received in the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research on October 25, 1999. We have searched the records from FDA's Adverse Event Reporting System, ERS, and have been unable to locate any cases that would be responsive to your request. If there are any problems with this response, please notify us in writing of your specific problems. Please reference the above file number. Sincerely. Hal Stepper, Freedom of Information Technician, Office of Training and Communications, Freedom of Information Staff, HFD 205. Source, http://www.silvermedicine.org/fda.html. Invive Mild Silver Protein, the ultimate immune system product for colds, flus and infections. Website, http://www.drjohnson.com. The March 1978 issue of Science Digest, in an article, Our Mightiest Germ Fighter, reported. An antibiotic kills perhaps a half-dozen different disease organisms, but silver kills some 650. Resistant strains fail to develop. Colloidal silver. Killed every virus that was tested in the lab. UCLA Medical Center. For Dr. Johnson's online mild silver protein health report, go to www.freemarketnews.com/analysis/112/3680-2006.asp. WID equals 112 and NID equals 3680. Dr. Johnson's online colloidal silver, mild silver protein desk reference guide for specific health problems, for those who are seeking help regarding specific diseases, maladies and health problems. You can go to http://www.drjohnson.com and then click on Doctor's Desk reference at the top of the website. The maladies and diseases are in alphabetical order with specific instructions relating to each problem. The truth about mild silver protein/m.s.p. Rebuttals of promoters' misinformation. http://invive.com/rebuttals_new.html. Actual MSP. Scientific, medical studies, www.spressnet.com/bealthy/bealthy.html #Hivlet. Dr. Johnson's comment, Invive mild silver protein is made under pharmaceutical GMP, good manufacturing practices, with double check-off lists. The silver that is used is the finest available and is the same silver used in the 1938 edition, 12th volume of the British Encyclopedia of Medical Practice, Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons. The compounds used to make this silver are identical as the silver compounds used in burn wards across America. As a result, they can achieve uniform particle size between 0.005 and 0.015 microns, which is something most companies have a very hard time doing. Now this particle size is much smaller than our bacterium, which are approximately 0.5 microns. Therefore Invive silver particles can go wherever the bacteria are because the Invive particles are 100 times smaller than our bacteria, as Invive's smallest particles start at 0.005. Today's modern antibiotics kill over 100,000 Americans per year, and cause horrendous liver and kidney damage, failure, and death, whereas the pre-1938 mild silver protein formulation that has never caused one death. Dr. Johnson's radio interview. Colloidal silver. From the early 1900s to 1938, doctors would prescribe silver as a cure for various ailments. Now doctors in the 21st century avoid it. What changed in 1938? FMNN misinformation investigator radio guest, Dr. Scott Johnson gives the history and much more. Also learn why 95% of what is being sold as colloidal silver is actually ionic silver with very little therapeutic properties. Click the link for the interview. http://72.3.247.199/user/42/streams/832/johnson122806a.mp3. View all of Dr. Johnson's online video presentations in playlist succession. Dr. Johnson YouTube website, http://www.youtube.com.
So here we see the YouTube website of the doctor. Avian flu population control H5N1 biological warfare part 1, etc. So I'll leave the link in the description so everybody can study this. I'm not making claims. I'm not making the claim that colloidal silver will kill the coronavirus SARS-CoV-2 and that it's 100% guaranteed, nothing can go wrong. But I will claim they should investigate this, test it. If it's more effective and safer than what they have planned, quite rush to supposedly killer vaccines, according to some, to dose the global population. They already have laws in place to inject everybody at gunpoint with contaminated vaccines that will be contaminated with rabies, HIV, and Ebola. And these companies will be legally immune because it's a rush-through vaccine. So that's why they let people claim in the mainstream media that it will take at least a year to produce this killer vaccine. And I've covered the companies, Greffex, Greffex, and a Taiwan-based antigen vaccine, and also the chemical, the cancer-causing prescription drugs that they have already tested, a combination of 8 drugs, Calitra combined with flushing with Tamiflu. And I've covered the side effects, a long list of horrible side effects, and some of these affect up to 1 in 10 people basically. So we should at least look at the side effects and study the effectiveness, how many people were cured from it. For example, when a doctor thinks it's appropriate to give a patient chemotherapy, then we can study the effectiveness. So it depends on the type of chemo. Some are like 80 to 85% effective. And I was also chemoed about 10 years ago. And it's very probable that the cancer B-cell lymphoma was caused by the directed energy weapon torture, also involving high MEMS of DARPA. More about it in my previous broadcast. So that's why people that are sick or that were sick know possible cures that mainstream media doesn't present to us. How many people know that 37 people died of a GMO genetically modified organism in a food supplement to make food supplements look bad in theory. So this is all theory, I keep that clear, because I'm a conspiracy factist. And I am practically convinced that people that take colloidal silver are immunized. And I would have died a long time ago. Initially I had pneumonia, for which I was treated. So now I use a nebulizer of Omron with colloidal silver in the flu season, because my immune system may be weakened because of a non-contagious blood disease, which makes me 80% disabled. So that's why I cannot get a job after their directed energy weapon torture. They've tortured my teeth out of my mouth and my mother to death. And according to Citizens Action Network, the Jesuits control all intelligence agencies, and they are all Masonic, that means Luciferian. Rebuttals of promoters' misinformation. People can read that. I was going to read the other article. There was also a link to this silvermedicine.org website that may have more interesting information, also about colloidal silver's mechanism of action. The FDA has tested colloidal silver extensively and found that different microorganisms succumb to its action at a wide variety of concentrations and exposure times. If any of this information entered the public domain, the FDA would consider their own research, quote, unsubstantiated medical claims, unquote, and reason enough to classify colloidal silver as a new drug. Peter Lindemann, quote, long before the FDA's September 16 ruling. So perhaps I'll read part of this as well, but first let's go to the other article that I wanted to read on Alliance for Natural Health. So probably I would have died a long time ago. I can only read this first one I've read already. No, it was another one. So perhaps that's changing. Is it? It's from 2013. No. No, perhaps it was somewhere else. Let's not read any comments, only the article.
FDA protects big pharma products by declaring that silver has no therapeutic value. September 10, 2013 category, Stop Crony Healthcare Silver. The EPA, on the other hand, allows its widespread use as a germ killer in clothing, bedding, cosmetics, electric shavers, baby bottles, and food containers. Silver has been used as an antimicrobial for thousands of years. That's why forks, spoons, and platters were traditionally made out of silver. Nanosilver, however, sprang out of the new science of nanomaterials, which involves creating objects smaller than 100 nanometers. A nanometer is a billionth of a meter. For example, the period at the end of this sentence is 1,000,000 nanometers wide. Objects this small can penetrate parts of the body that larger sizes of silver cannot, and thus potentially increase silver's antimicrobial effect. The new size, however, also poses potential risks of misuse. The Natural Resources Defense Council, NRDC, filed a lawsuit in January 2012 to block the EPA from allowing nanosilver on the market without the legally required data about possible harmful effects. Australian microbiologist Gregory Grassetti adds that important clinical uses of silver will be diminished by completely hysterical and frivolous uses such as nanosilver being used in bedding and clothing simply to prevent odors and keep linens fresher longer between washings. He implicitly acknowledges, as the FDA will not, that nanosilver has important therapeutic applications. Silver kills all kinds of bacteria, attacking them in 3 distinct ways. weakening the cell wall, thus causing the bacteria to collapse or burst, interfering with the enzymes the bacteria need to metabolize nutrients, starving them, and disrupting the ability of bacteria to replicate. This triple-pronged attack makes it unlikely that bacteria could develop resistance to silver, although it cannot be completely ruled out. Bacteria would have to mutate in all three ways. For this reason, critics of using silver in clothes and similar products are right. Because silver weakens the wall of the bacteria, it also allows conventional antibiotics to enter more easily. Research on mice at Boston University shows that with silver added, lower doses of antibiotic drugs were needed to kill bacteria. Silver was also able to reverse the antibiotic resistance of E. coli bacteria, making them once more susceptible to tetracycline. The mice were left unharmed by the silver. This is huge, if only because it may force medical authorities to recognize silver as a therapeutic agent. It could also be the answer to the growing problem of antibiotic-resistant diseases that are becoming endemic. Individual studies have confirmed silver's powerful therapeutic effects against thrush, paracoronitis, infection of the gums around the back teeth, E. coli, and Staphylococcus aureus. Silver nanoparticles in blood serum from cattle showed highly potent antibacterial activity toward certain bacterial strains. The FDA does not recognize colloidal silver, silver suspended in a liquid, as a safe and effective antibiotic and believes there is no evidence to support its use. This has been the agency's position since 1996. This led the authors of this study to want to evaluate the mineral's antimicrobial efficacy, and therefore the FDA's claim. They found that, contrary to the agency's claim, ionic colloidal silver is highly effective in killing bacteria. Another study similarly concluded, silver particles could offer a great potential for application as an antibacterial agent with low human toxicity. An epidemic of tuberculosis is currently ravaging Myanmar, with 9,000 new multi-drug-resistant TB infections every year. The normal strain of TB is easy to treat with a simple and cheap drug regimen, but when patients skip doses, the bacteria can fight back by mutating in ways that sidestep the drug's assault. Now, the drugs that are needed to fight this resistant strain of TB are highly toxic, 100 times more expensive, and must be taken for longer periods of time. As we reported in 2012, the miracle drugs and vaccines of the mid to late 1900s are not standing the test of time, whereas silver in the treatment plan for multi-drug resistant TB in Myanmar, there are no known cases of silver-resistant bacteria, and as more modern antibiotics are rendered useless by bacteria that have learned to outsmart them, silver is an obvious answer. Silver nanoparticles also show promise in fighting viral infections. The Journal of Virological Methods reported in 2011 that silver nanoparticles inhibit the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, the hepatitis B virus, and the H1N1 influenza A virus. That was confirmed in studies here and here. Condoms coated with silver nanoparticles have been shown to inactivate the infectiousness of both HIV and the herpes simplex virus. Water disinfection systems using silver nanoparticles were shown to exhibit antiviral properties, and silver applied to a water filter more than doubled its effectiveness in removing viruses from drinking water. Although this is providing important information, using silver in this way is untested and might also jeopardize silver's continuing use as a potent antimicrobial agent. How about using silver against fungal infections? There is mounting evidence for its antifungal effects, including 4 recent studies from universities and research institutes the world over. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is heartening news. Is colloidal silver safe for use by individuals and families? The evidence is that it is, but that care must be taken to follow the manufacturer's directions in order to avoid an overdose. In general, it is better to avoid using silver for everyday infections such as teenage acne, but instead reserve it for more serious infections. Meanwhile, the FDA continues to keep its head buried in the sand. It ignores mounting evidence that silver is an important general antimicrobial, an important tool especially against resistant infections and pandemic, while ignoring the proliferation of nanosilver in consumer goods. The agency appears to be trying to protect drug company products. The difference between drug company products and silver is of course that the latter is natural. As such, it is not easily patented, and not being patentable, no one can afford to spend $1 billion on FDA approval. This is a scandalous situation. How many millions of people will have to die as a result? 71 responses to FDA protects big pharma products by declaring that silver has no therapeutic value. Suzanne says, September 10, 2013 at 5:49 p.m. The FDA has no idea what they are talking about and make things up to fit with their bias. Reply Kevin Donnelly says, September 10, 2013 at 5:51 p.m. The agency appears to be trying to protect drug company products. The difference between drug company products and silver is of course that the latter is natural. As such, it is not easily patented, and not being patentable, no one can afford to spend $1 billion on FDA approval. This is a scandalous situation. How many millions of people will have to die as a result? Reply Kevin Donnelly says, September 10, 2013 at 5:52 p.m. The agency appears to be trying to protect drug company products. The difference between drug company products and silver is of course that the latter is natural. As such, it is not easily patented, and not being patentable, no one can afford to spend $1 billion on FDA approval. This is a scandalous situation. How many millions of people will have to die as a result? Replied Donna Marquardt says, September 10, 2013 at 5:59 p.m. We've started using the colloidal silver instead of the antibiotic creams. Amazing how quickly things heal. Reply K. Keen says, September 10, 2013 at 6:01 p.m. It is more than apparent the FDA has lost all creditability, not unlike our federal government, a rich man's game. Freedom/democracy has become an auction. They only have power because we allow it. Reply Monty Beaver says, September 10, 2013 at 6:10 p.m. I have used nanosilver for years and I know that it works for many things. I have used it for eye infections as well as other infections such as cuts that became infected. I never take flu shots as the silver works best for prevention. I use it every day and will continue to do so. The FDA is a toady for the big drug companies and anyone with any brain power knows that. I never believe anything the FDA puts out for that very reason. Replied Donald Ross says, September 10, 2013 at 6:11 p.m. I have been using colloidal silver both orally and topically for over 20 years now and thank God I do not listen to the FDA. They are so deep into the pockets of the drug lords. It is disgusting in what is supposed to be the greatest country in the world, and our politicians have the audacity to talk about corruption in other countries. They need to start cleaning house at home first. We will never be a free country as long as the drug lords rule. Reply Shasha says, September 10, 2013 at 6:30.
So I cannot read comments that are too long, and I think that this is possibly a comment made by an AI. This next comment of Shasha. Not Sasha, but Shasha. She writes about her eye. Let's see if I can find it. And then she must have had a condition already, and perhaps it's from chemicals, cancer-causing prescription drugs that she's using, and not caused by the silver. I read that one already. And I also dropped this in my eye, so the virus and other organisms that cause diseases can spread via our eyes, via the airways that are also moist. And water may be one of the requirements for abiogenesis, the formation of living organisms from non-living matter. So you can study that on Wiki as well, evolution, etc. The stuff we should have been taught in school. Let's read this. This is also on topic about the F.D.A, colloidal silver in the F.D.A, the Food and Drug Administration. This is found on silvermedicine.org.
Colloidal silver and the F.D.A, the Food and Drug Administration.
So what I'm saying is they have to test the effectiveness of colloidal silver in relation to the SARS-CoV-2 virus that has become a reason to declare a pandemic for the WHO. I've done a recent broadcast about this as well. Several also Dutch politicians like Baudet and others have their own ideas about the proper treatment. First, trying to prevent the virus from spreading. But basically, to cure disease, you have to treat the cause and not just fight the symptoms with chemical or cancer-causing prescription drugs.
The F.D.A. ruling on colloidal silver in 1999 formally established that all colloidal silver products are unclassified drugs. This document explores the Food and Drug Administration's actions since that time, noting inconsistencies and.
So the point I wanted to make is I think they know that colloidal silver effectively kills the virus, including Ebola virus and HIV. And they want to keep this secret because they make money of sick patients, not of cured patients, especially of these chemical, these cancer-causing prescription drugs. AIDS medicine is among the most expensive medicine in the world. And flu-vaccinated people tested positive for HIV. New England Journal of Medicine reported about this. And of course we've heard Senator Tom Cotton and others talking about this coronavirus. I've already said dangerous things, I think, in previous broadcasts. I don't want to go into this too deeply now. So the point was that they know that it kills these viruses. For example, the report of the DTRA, Defense Threat Reduction Agency, in which we can see that colloidal silver kills the Ebola virus with the microscope pictures and everything. And they want to keep this secret. And that blog that it was on, bchoffman.wixsite.com/Ebola, Ebola with the letter G attached to it. You can still visit that page via catchpages.com that had that report on it. Perhaps I can Google it and show you the thing, but you can Google it for yourselves. And I've prepared other articles for this broadcast. And I don't think it's a good idea to show you a now removed website, so it is removed for a reason. I think there may have been illegal triggering or incitement things on it. In their opinion, population reduction is legit. It's allowed to reduce the global population, and they advocate a population reduction to 500 million, clear from the book quotes, $1 million Georgia Guidestones, and somehow these people are not arrested. Also people on YouTube advocating a population reduction to 100 million is just fine. They have no problem with that whatsoever. They don't consider that incitement or triggering. So these depleted uranium babies are just fine. Any resistance to that, then you're a terrorist.
Biases concerning the F.D.A.'s action against the use of colloidal silver. Many people, based upon the controversies associated with silver use, believe that the F.D.A. is anti-silver. Many people believe that the FDA and other governmental agencies have no reason to believe in the effectiveness of silver products, and that their position is that silver is not safe for use with the human body. We recommend our visitors view our material, Silver Medical Products. Featured, University of North Texas tests colloidal silver. Pseudomonas. The University of North Texas, under the supervision of Mark A. Farina, Ph.D., conducted in vitro time-kill studies to test the effectiveness of silver colloidal silver at 15 ppm and 30 ppm. Dr. Farina's laboratory testing confirmed
ppm parts per million.
the direct antimicrobial effect of silver against staph, candida and pseudomonas. Read the details, silver effective against pathogenic organisms, and explore how silver can, via direct contact, reduce bacterial population counts from over 10 million copies to undetectable in under 4 minutes.
So ppm is the parts per million. The strength of the colloidal silver. So 15 parts per million, 30 parts per million, these are common dilutions of the silver water. And it has to be pure silver, not from coins, and pure distilled water, aqua purificata destillata. The cleanest water has to be used by these companies that produce the silver. I create my own silver, but I have to advise people not to do that. It may be too unsafe, some people really don't know what they're doing, etc. So safety first.
The FDA takes action. On September 16, 1999, the FDA issued a final ruling on any and all colloidal silver products.
I'm keeping absolutely clear that I'm not selling anything, so people cannot buy silver from me. They can buy it from these companies online that already have a legal battle with F.D.A. basically, that may be influenced and controlled by these population reduction NGOs that I've covered in previous broadcasts, non-governmental organizations, George Soros and others. And I've also covered the petition on the White House.gov website, the petition to declare George Soros a terrorist, seize all his assets, etc.
With a brisk pen stroke invoking the FDA's broad power, the ruling proclaimed and entered into law that any silver substance in a gelatinous solution could not be sold as a medicinal substance. The ruling categorized colloidal silver as an unclassified drug. Any colloidal silver products marketed as having medicinal properties are now in violation of federal law. However, due to the fact that silver is both a natural substance and not a controlled substance, it is still protected under the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. Under this law, any labeling and/or advertising referring to any health benefits of the substance in question is unlawful. The substance must be labeled as a dietary supplement and may not be marketed for external use. The innocent bystander might assume that the FDA took this action based on collected research data that demonstrates that colloidal silver is a harmful substance, and thus the public should be protected from its use. However, this is not the case. The following letter, written by the FDA in compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, clearly shows that the FDA's action to ban colloidal silver sales was not motivated by any data suggesting harm.
Okay, there was somebody at the door. I had to open the door. And they have the same documents. The FDA admits it has no clinical data suggesting isolated silver is unsafe for human use. Evaluating colloidal silver based on the FDA ruling. So it has all the correspondence, etc. So there's quite a bit of information available for people who know the right links. So I'll put them in the comments. Let's read the correspondence between the FDA and silvermedicine.org or somebody else.
Office of Training and Communications Freedom of Information Staff, HFD 205. Evaluating colloidal silver based on the FDA ruling. The conscientious person, armed with the above knowledge, would no doubt consider that the FDA has simply determined that colloidal silver has either no value in human health applications, or that any possible value remains highly questionable due to lack of scientific evidence. The FDA, one would think, is sincerely following its primary purpose of protecting the public from potential abuse by unscrupulous companies and unduly optimistic dreamers, protecting them from turning blue from argyria and naivety. Unfortunately, this is not the truth. While the FDA does have valid points against the colloidal silver industry as a whole, none of these points has anything to do with whether or not isolated silver is safe in reasonable quantities or whether or not it is effective in fighting infections. Not only has the FDA approved at least one silver product for use in wound care, but the FDA has done its own research to determine if colloidal silver has potential as a significant medicinal substance. The FDA has tested colloidal silver extensively and found that different microorganisms succumb to its action at a wide variety of concentrations and exposure times. If any of this information entered the public domain, the FDA would consider their own research unsubstantiated medical claims and reason enough to classify colloidal silver as a new drug. Peter Lindemann, long before the FDA September 16 ruling, while, as noted above, the FDA must follow the letter of its own laws, it is clear that the motive behind the FDA's ruling is driven by forces unrelated to the safety, the condition of argyria, or the potential effectiveness of true colloidal silver. One stated motivating factor was that many products of unknown substance and quality were being marketed under the label of colloidal silver. Some of these products undoubtedly were, and are, of questionable quality. There certainly are no established standards for the production of colloidal silver. However, the FDA's underlying motives reveal themselves when examining their public relations strategies. The FDA, knowing full well the distinction between different kinds of silver products, purposefully and maliciously attempts to confuse the public by misrepresenting silver products. The FDA highlights the antiquated use of silver proteins and compounds, while sidestepping the truth that isolated silver is no more like these products than hydrogen alone is like water. In doing so, the FDA fails to uphold the public trust. The FDA bullies organizations, as will be shown below, that are not in a position to know the letter of the law, rather than educate them as a matter of public responsibility and interest. The FDA has mounted an increasingly hostile campaign against colloidal silver. It is deeply troubling that such a necessary agency as the FDA can no longer be trusted to uphold the public trust it was founded to preserve. The FDA needs to be held accountable both for its true motives and its actions. It is true that the letter of the law must be honored, however, the spirit of the law should define how the letter of the law is enforced. Many of these issues will need to be settled in a high court of law. It is unlikely that the issue of colloidal silver will be a legal battleground, since the FDA defines, rules, and enforces laws regarding silver use, but we strongly suggest that anyone interested in the truth do independent research on pending court cases against the FDA, which is outside of the scope of this work. Until that time, we can only question the liberal budget allowed to the FDA, which is evidently abundant enough to allow them to continuously harass people selling silver wire and 9-volt batteries, among others. If Congress continues to believe that such expenditures are worth the hefty price tag, then we still question the methods the FDA uses to achieve its objective. We believe a federal government-sponsored independent ethics review is long overdue. The following letter is an example of what the FDA is calling cyber letters that have been sent to companies marketing colloidal silver.
What you are seeing now is an image of Citizens Action Network on Facebook that has been altered. It used to have Adolfo Nicolas on it. Now it says Arturo Sosa, the new leader of the Jesuits, that prefers to be called Superior General.
January 8, 2001, name and address removed, ref. Number 01HFD 3101068. Dear, this is to advise you that the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, has reviewed your website at the internet address http://www.ioniaminerals.com and has determined that the product ionic silver mineral water being offered is promoted for conditions that cause the product to be a drug under Section 201G of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, the Act, 21 U.S.C. 321G. The product may be considered a drug because the therapeutic claims as shown on your website establish its intended use as a drug. Examples.
So blocking colloidal silver shipments to Ebola-infected countries is mass murder.
If some claims observed on your website include, in part, ionic silver mineral water, nature's antibiotic pneumonia, shingles, genital wart, ringworm. Proven to kill over 650 different kinds of bacteria, fungus, viruses, and disease organisms. Anthrax. Tuberculosis. Cerebrospinal meningitis. Furthermore, FDA has no information that your product is generally recognized as safe and effective for the above referenced conditions, and therefore, it may also be a new drug under Section 201P of the Act, 21 U.S.C. 321P. New drugs may not be legally marketed in the U.S. without prior approval from FDA as described in Section 505A of the Act, 21 U.S.C. 355A. FDA approves new drugs on the basis of scientific data submitted by a drug sponsor to demonstrate that the drug is safe and effective. FDA is aware that Internet distributors may not know that the products they offer are regulated as drugs or that these drugs are not in compliance with the law. Many of these products may be legally marketed as dietary supplements or as cosmetics if certain therapeutic claims are removed from the promotional materials and the products otherwise comply with all applicable provisions of the Act and FDA regulations. Under the Act, as amended by the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, (CHA), dietary supplements may be legally marketed with claims that they are intended to affect the structure or function of the body. Structure/function claims, if certain conditions are met, claims that dietary supplements are intended to prevent, diagnose, mitigate, treat, or cure disease claims, excepting health claims authorized for use by FDA, may not be made as they cause the products to be drugs. The intended use of a product may be established through product labels and labeling, catalogs, brochures, audio and videotapes.
So they cause the products to be chemical, as cancer-causing prescription drugs. Dr. Cyril Smith made clear chemicals have a synergistic effect with cancer-causing electromagnetic radiation, so avoid chemicals like the plague.
Internet sites, or other circumstances surrounding the distribution of the product, FDA has published a final rule intended to clarify the distinction between statements allowed as structure, function claims and those that represent disease claims. This document is available on the internet at http://vm.kfn.fda.gov/tilde/LRD/FR00106.html. In addition, only products that are intended for ingestion may be lawfully marketed as dietary supplements. Topical products and products intended to enter into the body directly through the skin or.
So of course that's quite hilarious. Claims that dietary supplements are intended to prevent, diagnose, mitigate, treat or cure disease. Disease claims, accepting health claims authorized for use by FDA may not be made as they cause the products to be drugs. But they keep clear that it's a supplement and they don't sell it as a drug. So it's totally nonsense, totally ludicrous. So if it's not a hydrolyzed chemical substance compressed into a little pill, then it's not good enough to reduce the global population. You have to have natural things, basically. So why not allow these natural things on the market? Is it because people can grow them themselves? So that's why they had to make these Rockefeller drug laws, illegally blocking working cures from the public. There's jurisprudence about it. So legalize it. It's illegal to block a working cure from the public, okay?
Mucosal tissues, such as transdermal or sublingual products, are not dietary supplements. For these products, disease or structure, function claims may cause them to be new drugs. Additional information is available in Title 21, Code of Federal Regulations, 21 CFR, Parts 310 and 330-358. These parts include the final rules for various OTC ingredients or products that may or may not be legally marketed without prior approval. Furthermore, your internet site may be subject to statutes enforced by the Federal Trade Commission, FTC. Sections 5 and 12 of the Federal Trade Commission Act, 15 U.S.C. Sections 45 and 52. You are encouraged to consult the FTC website at http://www.ftc.gov/bcp/conline/pubs/dietsup.htm for further information. The FTC website also provides copies of complaints and orders that have been filed by the FTC against companies making misleading or deceptive advertising claims on the Internet. Some of these complaints and orders can be found at http://www/ftc/gov/opas/2000/06/lanelabs.htm.
So in reality it's proven scientifically that colloidal silver has antiviral properties, it kills viruses, and then they're not allowed to put that on the bottle because then it becomes a drug? Is that what they're really saying?
http://www.ftc.gov/opas/2000/04/cureall2.htm and http://www.ftc.gov/opas/1999/9906/upcureall.htm. You may want to review your advertisement in light of these standards. Related questions should be directed to the FTC at 2023263090. This letter is not intended to be an all-inclusive review of your website and products your firm may market. It is your responsibility to ensure that all products marketed by your firm are in compliance with the statutes administered by both the FDA and FTC. If you need additional information or have questions concerning any products distributed through your website.
Are they talking about the firm of the movie The Firm?
Please contact F.D.A. You may reach F.D.A. electronically, email, at leggett@fda.gov, or you may respond in writing to Don Leggett, Compliance Officer, Food and Drug Administration, HFD 310, 7520 Standish Place, Rockville, Maryland 20855, or by telephone at 301-594-0063. Sincerely yours, /S/David G. Horowitz, Esquire. Acting Director, Office of Compliance, Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, Food and Drug Administration. The FDA goes back and forth between two key phrases in its commentaries, literature, and letters. The FDA has no information that your product is generally recognized as safe and effective for the above referenced conditions and ... are not generally recognized as safe and effective. The FDA knows it must be careful treading these grounds. The following letter was sent by the Federal Trade Commission to a website.
Well, isn't it weird that we have the information and the FDA, which is supposed to have the information, doesn't have the information? Scientific data, the peer-reviewed scientific documents, etc., that they can easily find with Google. So perhaps they are choosing not to see the truth for some reason. Could it be trillions of dollars?
That sells no products. The FTC, teamed up with the FDA, in this case has overstepped legal boundaries to encroach upon legal freedom of expression. We can only hope this was done out of incompetence rather than targeted suppression of information. United States of America Federal Trade Commission, Bureau of Consumer Protection, Washington, D.C. 20580, via electronic mail, Notice of potential illegal marketing of products or therapies to prevent, treat, or cure anthrax, smallpox, or other diseases or health hazards. Immediate action required. Date, November 20, 2001. Your website claims that a product or therapy you sell is effective in the treatment or cure of anthrax, smallpox, or another disease or health hazard that may be associated with recent reports about threats of terrorism. We are aware of no scientific basis for such claims. Without competent and reliable scientific evidence to substantiate these claims, the claims are illegal under the Federal Trade Commission Act and must be discontinued immediately. Violations of the FTC Act may result in legal action in the form of federal district court injunction or administrative order. An order also may require that you pay money back to consumers. In addition, if you are marketing a dietary supplement, be aware that FDA prohibits any labeling claims that a dietary supplement is intended to prevent, mitigate, treat, or cure anthrax, smallpox, or any other disease under the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act as amended by the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act of 1994. Such claims would require that the product be submitted for FDA approval as a new drug. Also, representatives of the dietary supplement industry have issued a joint news release stating that dietary supplements should not be promoted as a remedy or cure for anthrax and that no dietary supplements have been proven to treat or prevent anthrax. The joint statement of the American Herbal Products Association.
So basically blocking the cure, that's the last step in the end game process. Their Agenda 21, Event 21, population reduction. And you could argue blocking the cure is an ultimate act of terrorism.
Consumer Healthcare Products Association, Council for Responsible Nutrition, National Nutritional Foods Association, and Utah Natural Products Alliance is attached. FTC investigators have copied and preserved the pages of your online promotional materials and will be revisiting your website soon. If your website includes any express of implied claim about the benefit.
I did the medical disclaimer, so what I'm saying is, if colloidal silver kills the virus, which it does according to the online articles that I found, the information, also scientific articles, they've described the experiments they've done to establish the results that they have presented in their reviews, etc. So if colloidal silver kills the virus, then all these measures would be criminal and treasonous measures, quarantining people, closing schools, quarantining people. They always change it into peoples, they also do it to others with their AI, because they're obsessed with population reduction and they want to make it sound like the Earth is overpopulated and generate the illusion that there's anthropogenic, because men caused global warming. That's Al Gore's carbon tax scam paid for by George Soros. And it's just a scam to reduce the global population, because dead men tell no tales and then they can loot. And then they have the gold and everything they have accumulated in this manner. Jesuits, Masons, Bilderbergers, the secret societies Kennedy warned us about.
Of any product or therapy for anthrax, smallpox, or other disease that is not substantiated by competent and reliable scientific evidence, or is otherwise deceptive or fraudulent, you must discontinue these claims immediately. The next letter was written by eBay.com, having finally given in to government pressure to ban all sales of colloidal silver-related products, whether they are mislabeled or not. Notice the misinformation in the letter. According to eBay, the FDA claimed that colloidal silver products are unsafe. We can only hope that eBay misunderstood the FDA, and that the FDA did not in truth make this erroneous claim. Dear, name removed. eBay appreciates the fact that you chose to list your auctions. Auction number removed, colloidal silver with us. However, it has been brought to our attention that the FDA has found colloidal silver products to be unsafe. The FDA has classified colloidal silver products to be misbranded because adequate directions cannot be written so that the general public can use these drugs safely for their intended purposes. They are also misbranded when their labeling falsely suggests that there is substantial scientific evidence to establish that the drugs are safe and effective for their intended uses.
So if eBay would start blocking colloidal silver, which it doesn't at this time, I don't know if it's true for at that time, but then we can still buy it at the pharmacy, etc. Silver is a natural mineral that our body needs, and it's present in nature, so it's hard to get rid of silver. And perhaps even harder to get rid of the silver slurper.
Based on this information, eBay has determined that the sale of items containing colloidal silver will no longer be allowed on our site. Therefore, these auctions have been ended and all associated fees have been refunded to your account. For a complete text of the ruling by the FDA in this matter, please view the following page: http://www.fda.gov/bbs/topics/answers/ins00971.html. Please use the following link to view the FDA's About Me page for more information: http://members.ebay.com/about/usfd/ Per our current policies for prescription drugs and food products, eBay does not permit the listing of any components of prescription or over-the-counter drugs unless the sale of such components without a prescription has been approved by the Food and Drug Administration, FDA. In addition, eBay does not allow listings containing drug claims, that is, a claim that the item is intended for use in the diagnosis, cure, mitigation, treatment, or prevention of disease in humans and/or animals, for example, pharmaceutical drugs, contact lenses, misbranded dietary supplements. For more information, please review the following pages: http://pages.ebay.com/help/community/png-prescription.html and http://pages.ebay.com/help/community/pngfood.html. Please view our guideline page for a better understanding of our auction guidelines and how they affect the way you list your items. http://pages.ebay.com/help/community/pnglist.html. For information on infringing or illegal items or for other eBay listing guidelines, please view http://pages.ebay.com/help/community/pngitems.html. For more information on why eBay has ended an auction, please visit http://pages.ebay.com/help/community/png-auction.html. Future auctions listed that fail to meet our listing guidelines will be ended early, and repeated violations may jeopardize your account status. We value you as a member of our community and wish to continue this relationship, so we must ask you to refrain from any violations of the listing policies or user agreement in the future. We thank you in advance for your understanding and cooperation. Please feel free to contact us with any questions or concerns you may have on our existing listing policies. Regards, Ricardo X, ended at ebay.com. eBay Incorporated. The current method of enforcement and prosecution of companies marketing colloidal silver is a concentrated and joint effort between the FDA and the FTC. However, there is a notable difference in policy between the two agencies. Unlike the FDA, the FTC does accept scientific evidence as justifiable in making certain claims about items for sale. To quote the FTC versus Aaron Company settlement agreement, competent and reliable scientific evidence shall mean tests, analyses, research, studies, or other evidence based on the expertise of professionals in the relevant area, that has been conducted and evaluated in an objective manner by persons qualified to do so, using procedures generally accepted in the profession to yield accurate and reliable results. In the matter of making claims of efficacy, the FTC forbids it, unless unless, at the time the representation is made, respondents possess and rely upon competent and reliable scientific evidence that substantiates the representation. Therefore, it is possible to be in compliance with the FTC while violating law established by the F.D.A. This may be why there are some careful companies that are not primary targets in the Operation Cure All campaign. The FTC, apparently, is in a far better position to handle prosecution than the F.D.A. Both the F.D.A. and the FTC's definition of colloidal silver is sadly lacking. Colloidal silver product shall mean any product containing or purporting to contain colloidal silver or silver salts, including but not limited to Aaron's colloidal silver. Language that the F.D.A. and FTC use is usually very ambiguous. At least 3 classifications of silver products are truly required to accurately cover the wide range of silver products in use today. The F.D.A. would truly be doing a public service if it established 3 separate classifications, and prioritize their actions based on scientifically available evidence on safety. 1. Silver compounds known to be toxic, classified as not generally regarded as safe, retaining the unclassified drug status. 2. Mild silver proteins, various silver compounds, the ones which have adequately been researched, and solutions with more than 50 parts per million silver content, classified as no information that establishes these products as safe, retaining the unclassified drug status. 3. Isolated silver products, meaning ionic and particulate silver in isolated form, between 1 and 50 ppm, in distilled water in colloidal, and or ionic, form, classified as GRA, generally regarded as safe, with the unclassified drug status removed. The FDA likes to argue that there are no USP standards for production. This can be settled in very short order to varying degrees of excellence based on currently available studies endorsed by the EPA. None of these efforts would change the reality of the law or allow companies to make unsubstantiated medical claims about products. What it would do, however, is to prioritize the critical attention of isolated silver products and properly focus the energy involved in law enforcement. After all, scientifically, silver is no more a drug in the body than simple H2O. By the letter of the law, if I say H2O cures dehydration, I am making a drug claim. It should be stated that the Colloidal Silver Database website has had no negative experiences with any governmental agency, nor are we interested in spearheading a political or legal fight against any agency. We are only interested in documenting and exploring the pertinent issues in the spirit of public interest. This article has been viewed times since August 2009. Back to top, silver colloidal silver safety issues with using colloidal silver, F.D.A. WHO, EPA. EPA Silver Safety Studies F.D.A. and Colloidal Silver Compound Toxicity FAQ, Silver Salts, Proteins and Isolated Silver Argyria and Colloidal Silver Argyria, Reported Cases Cure for Argyria Herxheimer Reaction Silver Side Effects Paul Roger Altman Silver Elimination Study World Health Organization Silver Toxicity Data, Mark Metcalf.
So I'll put a link in the description. And some people really are about population reduction, bloody serious about population reduction. Others are about making money, not saving the maximum number of human lives and making us all eternal. Because they may be misprogrammed to think it's impossible. So show us the worst aspect of colloidal silver, some study, scientific, peer-reviewed if possible, but not too complicated. Some evidence. I've checked the LD50 and the toxicity and other aspects of colloidal silver. And I already explained, to avoid getting argyria, people have to use pure water and pure silver. What might be an interesting one? fact, not one case of silver toxicity has been found due to isolated colloidal silver. It's claimed on silvermedicine.org. Can anybody disprove it to me? Skyprologic 999 or leave a comment. So there's also information about silver poisoning, and that information is based almost exclusively on silver nitrate. If colloidal silver responded even partially like these compounds, there would be thousands of cases of silver poisoning, with more being diagnosed daily. The fact, not one case of silver toxicity has been found due to isolated colloidal silver. So I think that's it for now. So I advise people to be prepared also with storable food. It's very well possible they've planned to home quarantine us all, and to implement the BFT, Blue Force Tracking, thus designating US citizens as enemy combatants when they leave their house. During the home quarantine period, they are shot at by drones, killer drones. Trump made it harder to know the number of drone deaths under an Obama law. And Talon robots will also be out there, and the military that will carry transponders, so they are not shot at by the drones and the Talon robots when they break the home quarantine. So they're allowed to be around us and out there and everywhere basically. And if martial law is implemented, then people lose the right to physical integrity and a lawyer, habeas corpus posse comitatus. And that's why martial law must be abolished. There is no use for it. They should just do their jobs to the best of their extent, and the judge can implement. There can be rules so that during wartime they can still be punished if they kill innocent civilians that don't deserve to be killed during a world war, for example. And perhaps it's best to let robots fight at world war in a controlled environment, to keep it safe, and to dismantle these nuclear weapons. Why not just shoot them into the sun? Why does it always have to be about nuclear disarmament, always about dismantling these nukes? Or perhaps they can create Superman now, and Superman can do it, or Superwoman, whatever you prefer. Oh yeah, we can read the Food and Drug Administration article on Wikipedia. Okay, the Wikipedia article on the F.D.A.
The Food and Drug Administration, FDA or F.D.A., is a federal agency of the United States Department of Health and Human Services, one of the United States federal executive departments. The FDA is responsible for protecting and promoting public health through the control and supervision of food safety, tobacco products, dietary supplements, prescription and over-the-counter pharmaceutical drugs, medications, vaccines, biopharmaceuticals, blood transfusions, medical devices, electromagnetic radiation emitting devices, cosmetics, animal foods and feed for, and veterinary products. The FDA was empowered by the United States Congress to enforce the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, which serves as the primary focus for the agency. The FDA also enforces other laws, notably Section 361 of the Public Health Service Act and associated regulations, many of which are not directly related to food or drugs. These include regulating lasers, cellular phones, condoms and control of disease on products ranging from certain household pets to sperm donation for assisted reproduction. The FDA is led by the Commissioner of Food and Drugs, appointed by the President with the advice and consent of the Senate. The Commissioner reports to the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Stephen M. Hann, MD, is the acting Commissioner, as of December 2019. 5. The FDA has its headquarters in unincorporated White Oak, Maryland. 6. The agency also has 223 field offices and 13 laboratories located throughout the 50 states, the United States Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. 7. In 2008, the FDA began to post employees to foreign countries, including China, India, Costa Rica, Chile, Belgium, and the United Kingdom.
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies.
The CDC did.
WHO, we are now hunting the virus.
Patients' rights to access unapproved drugs. The Compassionate Investigational New Drug Program was created after Randall v. U.S. ruled in favor of Robert C. Randall in 1978, creating a program for medical marijuana. 81. A 2006 court case, Abigail Alliance v. von Eschenbach, would have forced radical changes in FDA regulation of unapproved drugs. The Abigail Alliance argued that the FDA must license drugs for use by terminally ill patients with desperate diagnoses, after they have completed phase I testing. 82. The case won an initial appeal in May 2006, but that decision was reversed by a March 2007 rehearing. The U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear the case, and the final decision denied the existence of a right to unapproved medications. Critics of the FDA's regulatory power argue that the FDA takes too long to approve drugs that might ease pain and human suffering faster if brought to market sooner. The AIDS crisis created some political efforts to streamline the approval process. However, these limited reforms were targeted for AIDS drugs, not for the broader market. This has led to the call for more robust and enduring reforms that would allow patients, under the care of their doctors, access to drugs that have passed the first round of clinical trials.
So are they really just a bunch of chemicals cancer-causing prescription drug pushers?
Criticism's main article, Criticism of the Food and Drug Administration. The FDA has regulatory oversight over a large array of products that affect the health and life of American citizens. 64. As a result, the FDA's powers and decisions are carefully monitored by several governmental and non-governmental organizations. A $1.8 million 2006 Institute of Medicine report on pharmaceutical regulation in the U.S. found major deficiencies in the current FDA system for ensuring the safety of drugs on the American market. Overall, the authors called for an increase in the regulatory powers, funding, and independence of the FDA. 97-98. 9 FDA scientists appealed to then-President-elect Barack Obama over pressures from management, experienced during the George W. Bush presidency, to manipulate data, including in relation to the review process for medical devices. Characterized as corrupted and distorted by current FDA managers, thereby placing the American people at risk, these concerns were also highlighted in the 2006 Report 97, on the agency as well. 99. The FDA has also been criticized from the opposite viewpoint, as being too tough on industry. According to an analysis published on the website of the Libertarian Mercatus Center as well as published statements by economists, medical practitioners, and concerned consumers, many feel the FDA oversteps its regulatory powers and undermines small business and small farms in favor of large corporations. 3 of the FDA restrictions under analysis are the permitting of new drugs and devices, the control of manufacturer speech, and the imposition of prescription requirements. The authors argue that in the increasingly complex and diverse food marketplace, the FDA is not equipped to adequately regulate or inspect food. 100 verification needed. In addition, excessive regulation is blamed for the rising costs of healthcare and the creation of monopolies, as potential competitors are unable to get FDA approval to enter the market to compete and keep healthcare costs down. 101. However, in an indicator that the FDA may be too lax in their approval process, in particular for medical devices, a 2011 study by Dr. Diana Zuckerman and Paul Brown of the National Research Center for Women and Families, and Dr. Stephen Nissen of the Cleveland Clinic, published in the Archives of Internal Medicine, shows that most medical devices recalled in the last 5 years for serious health problems or death had been previously approved by the FDA using the less stringent, and cheaper, 510(k) process. In a few cases the devices had been deemed so low risk that they did not need FDA regulation. Of the 113 devices recalled, 35 were for cardiovascular health purposes. If a nation or state fully legalizes cannabis for adults 21 plus, they hurt the black market and will earn 85% more in tax revenue as compared to nations or states with only medical marijuana programs. DJ Gamecock.
So we can also take a look at the criticism of the Food and Drug Administration article on Wiki. And now we know it's there.
Criticism of the Food and Drug Administration. Numerous governmental and non-governmental organizations have criticized the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for alleged excessive and/or insufficient regulation. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, F.D.A., is an agency of the United States Department of Health and Human Services and is responsible for the safety regulation of most types of foods, dietary supplements, drugs, vaccines, biological medical products, blood products, medical devices, radiation-emitting devices, veterinary products, and cosmetics. The FDA also enforces Section 361 of the Public Health Service Act and the associated regulations, including sanitation requirements on interstate travel as well as specific rules for control of disease on products ranging from animals sold as pets to donations of human blood and tissue. 1. A $1.8 million 2006 Institute of Medicine report on pharmaceutical regulation in the U.S. found major deficiencies in the FDA system for ensuring the safety of drugs on the American market. Overall, the authors called for an increase in the regulatory powers, funding, and independence of the FDA. Criticism of the Food and Drug Administration. 1. Charges of overregulation. 1.1 Alleged problems in the drug approval process. 1.2 Allegations that FDA regulation causes higher drug prices. 1.3 Allegations of censorship in food and drug labeling. 2 Charges of underregulation. 2.1 Allegations that the FDA covered up exportation of unsafe products. 2.2 Allegations that unsafe drugs are approved. 2.3 Allegations that unsafe food additives and processing technologies are approved. 3 Charges of FDA bias. 3.1 Allegations of undue pharmaceutical industry influence. 3.1.1 Pressure to allow pharmaceuticals. 3.1.2 Viewing the pharmaceutical industry as FDA clients. 3.1.3 Bias toward more expensive drug. 3.2 Allegations of bias against gay men in blood donation process. 3.3 Criticism of FDA's rejection of medical cannabis. 3.4 Allegations regarding management and FDA scientists. Allegations that FDA regulation causes higher drug prices. Studies published in 2003 by Joseph D. Massey and colleagues estimated an average cost of approximately $800 million to bring a new drug to market, 1819, while a 2006 study estimated the cost to be anywhere from $500 million to $2 billion. 20. The consumer advocacy group Public Citizen, using a different methodology, estimated the average cost for development to be under $200 million, about 29% of which is spent on FDA-required clinical trials. 21-22, De Masi rejects the claim that high R&D costs alone are responsible for high drug prices. Instead, in a published letter, De Masi writes, Longer development times increase R&D costs and shorten the period during which drug companies can earn the returns they need to make investment financially viable. Other things being equal, longer development times reduce innovation incentives. As a consequence, fewer new therapies might be developed. 23. Economist Gary S. Becker, who won the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economics, has argued that FDA-required clinical trials for new drugs do contribute to high drug prices for consumers, mainly because of patent protection that provides a temporary monopoly which disallows cheaper alternatives from entering the market. He advocates dropping many FDA requirements, many of which provide no additional safety or valuable information, as this would hasten the development of new drugs, because they would be faster to bring to market, thereby increasing supply, and as a consequence would lead to lower prices. 24-25. In 2011, the experience with Makena showed that a previously inexpensive drug could increase in price dramatically, from about $10 to $1,500 after the FDA regulated its marketing, approved it as orphan drug, and granted it a temporary monopoly status, although it had been on the market for 5 decades. 26. After criticism, the FDA indicated that previous providers could continue to provide the medication, and Makena's price was reduced. Allegations of censorship in food and drug labeling. The FDA has been criticized by advocates for the supplement industry for prohibiting dietary supplement manufacturers from making research-supported claims of effectiveness on the labels of their products. Manufacturers of supplements, which are considered foods for regulatory purposes, are allowed to make only limited structure, function claims and are prohibited from claiming that the supplement can prevent, cure, or mitigate a disease or condition.
Well, when it does, then it's a crime if they're not allowed to put it on the bottle, basically. And the FDA, are these the same people that have made it forbidden to put the amount of tar and nicotine on the tobacco? WTF.
regardless of whether or not the supplement undergoes actual testing of its safety and efficacy. Ron Paul, RTX, opined, but the FDA and the drug companies are in bed together and they squeeze out competitions and build up their monopolies, and they love government medicine because they make more money. 27. Ron Paul also introduced a bill on November 10, 2005 titled the Health Freedom Protection Act, H.R. 4282, 2829, which proposed to stop the FDA from censoring truthful claims about the curative, mitigative, or preventative effects of dietary supplements, and adopts the federal court's suggested use of disclaimers as an alternative to censorship.
I remember Drexler, I don't know if that was the Drexler case. Charges of under-regulation.
Charges of under-regulation. In addition to those who see the FDA as a source of excessive regulation, other critics believe that the FDA does not regulate some products strictly enough. According to this view, the FDA allows unsafe drugs on the market because of pressure from pharmaceutical companies, fails to ensure safety in drug storage and labeling, and allows the use of dangerous agricultural chemicals, food additives, and food processing techniques. A $1.8 million 2006 Institute of Medicine report on pharmaceutical regulation in the U.S. found major deficiencies in the current FDA system for ensuring the safety of drugs on the American market. Overall, the authors called for an increase in the regulatory powers, funding, and independence of the FDA. 3031. Allegations that the FDA covered up exportation of unsafe products in the 1980s. Cutter Laboratories introduced a heat-treated version of Factor VIII concentrate in the U.S., designed to eliminate the risk of HIV transmission. However, Cutter continued to market the untreated product overseas, potentially spreading HIV while the safer product was marketed in the U.S. Cutter initially had a voluntary agreement with the FDA to stop marketing the untreated product. However, when it became clear that Cutter was not complying with the agreement, the FDA ordered the company to cease marketing untreated blood products, stating, it was unacceptable for them to ship that material overseas. At the same time, the FDA, according to Cutter's internal documents, asked that the issue be quietly solved without alerting the Congress, the medical community and the public, leading to charges that the FDA was complicit in covering up Cutter's actions. 32. Allegations that unsafe drugs are approved. Some critics believe that the FDA has been to overlook safety concerns in approving new drugs, and is slow to withdraw approved drugs once evidence shows them to be unsafe. Rezulin, Troglitazone, and Vioxx, Rofecoxib, are high-profile examples of drugs approved by the FDA which were later withdrawn from the market for posing unacceptable risks.
So they've taken an AIDS-infected medicine of which they knew beyond any reasonable doubt that it was contaminated, and dumped it overseas. Bayer was also involved in this, if I remember correctly. How terrible must it get before people take legal action?
To patients, Troglitazone is a diabetes drug that was also available abroad at the time the FDA approved it. Post-marketing safety data indicated that the drug had dangerous side effects, in this case liver failure. The drug was pulled off that market in the UK in 1997, but was not withdrawn by the FDA until 2000, before which time it is claimed that thousands of Americans were injured or killed by the drug. 33. In the case of Vioxx, a pre-approval study indicated that a group taking the drug had 4 times the risk of heart attacks when compared to another group of patients taking another anti-inflammatory, naproxen. 34. The FDA approval board accepted the manufacturer's argument that this was due to a previously unknown cardioprotective effect of naproxen, rather than a risk of Vioxx, and the drug was approved. In 2005, the results of a randomized, Placebo-controlled study showed that Vioxx users suffered a higher rate of heart attacks and other cardiovascular disorders than patients taking no medication at all. 35. The manufacturer, Merck, withdrew the drug after disclosures that it had withheld information about its risks from doctors and patients for over 5 years, resulting in between 88,000 and 140,000 cases of serious heart disease, of which roughly half died. 36. David Graham, a scientist in the Office of Drug Safety within the F.D.A., testified to Congress that he was pressured by his supervisors not to warn the public about dangers of drugs like Vioxx. He argued that an inherent conflict of interest exists when the office responsible for post-approval monitoring of drug safety is controlled by the same organization which initially approved those same drugs as safe and effective. He said that after testifying against Vioxx, he was marginalized by FDA management and not asked to participate in the evaluation of any new drug safety issues. It's a type of ostracism. 33. In a 2006 survey sponsored by the Union of Concerned Scientists, almost 1/5 of FDA scientists said they have been asked, for non-scientific reasons, to inappropriately exclude or alter technical information or their conclusions in an FDA scientific document. Allegations that unsafe food additives and processing technologies are approved. Food safety advocates have criticized the FDA for allowing meat manufacturers to use carbon monoxide gas mixtures during the packaging process to prevent discoloration of meat, a process that may hide signs of spoilage from the consumer. 38. The FDA has been criticized for allowing the use of recombinant bovine growth hormone, RBGH, in dairy cows. RBGH-treated cows secrete higher levels of insulin-like growth factor 1, IGF-1, in their milk than do untreated cows. IGF-1 signaling is thought to play a role in sustaining the growth of some tumors, although there is little or no evidence that exogenously absorbed IGF could promote tumor growth. The FDA approved RBGH for use in dairy cows in 1993, after concluding that humans drinking such milk were unlikely to absorb biologically significant quantities of bovine IGF-1. 39. A 1999 report of the European Commission Scientific Committee on Veterinary Measures relating to public health noted that scientific questions persist regarding the theoretical health risks of milk from RBGH-treated cows, particularly for feeding to infants. 40. Since 1993, all EU countries have maintained a ban on RBGH use in dairy cattle. The FDA has also been criticized for permitting the routine use of antibiotics in healthy domestic animals to promote their growth, a practice which allegedly contributes to the evolution of antibiotic-resistant strains of bacteria. 41. The FDA has taken recent steps to limit the use of antibiotics in farm animals. In September 2005, the FDA withdrew approval for the use of the fluoroquinolone antibiotic in rofloxacin, trade name Batril, in poultry, out of concern that this practice could promote bacterial resistance to important human antibiotics such as ciprofloxacin. 42. The FDA has received criticism for its approval of certain coal tar-derived food dyes such as F.D.A Yellow 5 and 6, which are banned in most European countries. On September 6, 2007, the British Food Standards Agency revised advice on certain artificial food additives, including tartrazine. Professor Jim Stevenson from Southampton University and author of the report said, "This has been a major study investigating an important area of research. The results suggest that consumption of certain mixtures of artificial food colors and sodium benzoate preservative are associated with increases in hyperactive behavior in children." The following additives were tested in the research: Sunset Yellow, FD&C Yellow No. 6, reddish yellow coloring used in many foods and cosmetics carmoisine, red coloring used in jellies tartrazine, FD&C Yellow No. 5, yellow coloring Ponsifor, red coloring sodium benzoate, preservative quinoline yellow, food coloring Allura Red AC, FD&C Red No. 40, orange. Red Food Dye 43. On April 10, 2008, the Food Standards Agency called for a voluntary removal of the colors, but not sodium benzoate, by 2009. 44. In addition, it recommended that there should be action to phase them out in food and drink in the European Union, EU, over a specified period. 45. UK ministers have agreed that the 6 colorings will be phased out by 2009. 46. A Japanese group found in 1987 that tartrazine was not carcinogenic after being fed to mice for 2 years. 47. A German group found in 1989 that sunset yellow did not induce mutations that could lead to cancer in laboratory animals. 48. The FDA has also been criticized for giving permission for cloned animals to be sold as food without any special labeling, although cloned products may not reach the U.S. market for years. And authorities lack the authority to require labeling of products from cloned animals. 49. In August 2013, a study released by the Pew Charitable Trust found that of the 8,105 additives that the FDA allows in food, only 19%, 1,367, have toxicology information. Only 19%, 1,367, have toxicology information.
So yeah, if you want to reduce the global population, then you would block working cures, and you would allow synthetic chemicals, toxic poisons, of which there is no toxicological information available, basically. And if something's dangerous, then you would not immediately ban it, but say, well, then we have to phase it out of a period of 10 years or so.
Bias toward more expensive drug. A historical example of how the FDA seemingly favors the pharmaceutical industry, either from clandestine direct money payments to FDA directors and scientific advisors or other undisclosed or unknown means, was seen with the generic drug Droperidol. Droperidol was a widely used antiemetic used perioperatively safely for over 30 years. During that time there had never been a case reported in peer-reviewed medical literature of cardiac arrhythmias or cardiac issues when given at doses typically used for post-operative nausea and vomiting. Nonetheless, and without warning, in 2001 the FDA issued a black box warning regarding QTc prolongation, a dangerous finding on an ECG which can lead to cardiac arrest, with the use of Droperidol. This effectively killed the common use of Droperidol and made way for heavy usage of the much more expensive non-generic 5-HT3 serotonin receptor antagonists on the market, even though these newer drugs had also been shown to prolong QTc as much, if not more than Droperidol. In addition, each of the 5-HT3 antagonists available at that time had peer-reviewed reports of causing significant cardiac abnormalities, and in some cases, death. Despite an apparent discrepancy that deeply concerned the anesthesia and emergency room physician community, the FDA persisted in keeping the black box warning, while at the same time did not place any restrictions on the more expensive 5-HT3 antagonists. Did not place any restrictions on the more expensive 5-HT3 antagonists. Did not place any restrictions on the more expensive 5-HT3 antagonists. Criticism of FDA's rejection of medical cannabis. In April 2005, the FDA issued a statement asserting that cannabis had no medical value and should not be accepted as a medicine, despite a great deal of research suggesting that opposite. 73. The supporters of medical cannabis legalization criticize the FDA statement as a politically motivated one instead of one based on solid science. A group of congressmen led by Morris Hinchey wrote a letter to FDA's Commissioner Andrew von Eschenbach, expressing their disapproval of the FDA statement and pointed out the FDA's rejection of medical cannabis was inconsistent with the findings of the Institute of Medicine, which stated cannabis does have medical benefits. 74. While the FDA has not approved marijuana, it has approved THC, a compound found in cannabis, as an active ingredient for medicinal use. 75. Critics argue that this approval is a politically motivated attempt to allow special interest groups to have patents over the substance. 76. Perhaps because the patents on previously patented competing substances have expired. Allegations regarding management and FDA scientists. Why kind use has related news. Obama calls food safety system a hazard to public health. 9 FDA scientists appealed to President George W. Bush and at the time, President-elect Barack Obama over pressure from management to manipulate data, mainly in relation to the review process for medical devices. These concerns were highlighted in a 2006 report too, on the agency as well. 77. Monsanto case. Mrs. Miller from Monsanto applies at FDA for product safety, changes her job to FDA and confirms her own safety application as FDA manager. 5th GC-MOF Conference, 2017 Moscow, Speaker, Scott Tips, National Health Federation.
Okay, that's it for this broadcast. I hope you all enjoyed it. I think it was a bit more boring than other broadcasts that I've done, though it is a crucial subject, of course. If this is a potential cure, then this must be investigated, though the medical cartel cannot make money of natural cures that people can grow and create at home. Silver can be bought from the pharmacies also. They don't necessarily have to buy it on eBay or on Pure Colloids Go UK or Silver Edge or one of these other websites. And we've seen the law that prevents them from removing them altogether. It's a bit hidden perhaps in this broadcast, but it's in there. So thank you all for watching, and stay safe. Your life is the most important thing, so don't do anything that could damage your body and your health. Don't do it if you don't know the outcome, if you don't know what you're doing. And perhaps it's best to just buy colloidal silver and follow the manual, and perhaps also stay under the maximum dose. Perhaps take only 1 tablespoon max per day, not 4 tablespoons. And there are some negative effects that it can have as well, so study that first. And I am not using colloidal silver through the year, depending on my condition, my physical condition also. During the flu season, when people tend to get a cold, when I notice that it's becoming clogged up and everything, then I can put some silver in my nostrils, in my eyes, and I can internally use some colloidal silver. that's how I get through that flu season, the influenza season, seasonal influenza. So there are currently about 24 times more flu deaths than coronavirus deaths, and about 74 times more AIDS deaths than coronavirus deaths, but that can change. So it can mutate and become more deadly. So preventing beats curing. That's why I allow all these statements. Some would call it fear-mongering, but that may be a good thing if it saves lives. Not when it leads to panic and people do irrational things. That's not what I'm doing here. Some others may be trying to do this also to get everybody to take the vaccine. But again, that would be a crime. If it's proven to be effective, it effectively kills the coronavirus, then they shouldn't start home quarantining and stopping flights, destroying the economy, something that's done deliberately, and I've also covered who may be behind this. So there are certain things I won't say to make absolutely certain this broadcast is in compliance with the YouTube user policy. And I'd like to finish with the fact that I have advocated using only legal methods to do something about whatever we must do something about. And also I try to focus on healing things, so breathing properly, proper stance. People can do mudras if they know how to. These Indian mudras, and there are others. So it's good to know. And I know them thanks to Dungy ASMR on YouTube. I know about the existence of mudras. Just let go of stress and bad ideas and inhale life force energy, pure air. If you have an air cleaner with an ionizer, you can consider yourself lucky. Freed from desire. Okay, well, I think people are never freed from desire. They need water, they need food, so they desire it, and if they don't get it, then they die from starvation and water shortage. So people need even more water than they need food. And during a solar storm, these electrical pumps of our water supply would be knocked out. And during an EMP, when there's a nuclear event, God forbid, then we'd also need that radiological water filter to survive. And perhaps a place that won't be flooded by Putin's nuclear torpedoes. More about this in my previous broadcasts, about preventing a two-state solution world war, an annexation world war, a Trump-Kushner peace plan world war. And perhaps they are extorted by these Jesuits. Everybody, it's possible that everybody in this that we've talked about is extorted with remote torture technology when they are not controllable with synthetic telepathy alone. And that they are punishing the best of us, not the worst of us, not the criminals. That there are people behind the buttons of the scalar weapon that want to reduce the global population, that are abusing their power. So more about it on my channel Perfect Society here on YouTube. Thanks to YouTube for allowing us to broadcast. And I still think that it's better for the people to have this policy, anti-racism, anti-homophobia, anti-fascism, etc. that it's safer for the people, that it saves lives, and that it's better to have that policy than to have no policy. Though I do wonder about population reduction, if that isn't incitement and triggering basically, and if not, why not? Perhaps somebody could explain it to me. I should let my globe spin again. Yesterday it slammed without moving my table. Sometimes it's happening while, sometimes it happens after shaving, when I tap the shaving thing on the table to get the hair out, and then it slams into the top because it's a magnet. Levitron, some call it. And most of them don't spin, so if you want a spinning one, you have to make sure that it's in the description of the item. On eBay, for example. I also bought this other globe. This one. And it has a thing at the bottom. And you can put a battery in it. You can remove these two halves of the globe. But it spins in the wrong direction. So I was quite displeased. But it's still a really nice globe to have on my desk anyway. But who needs a globe when they have Google Earth that's updated and the globes are not updated? However, if there's an EMP, then the Google Earth may be gone as well. Wouldn't be funny. So preventing beats curing. You don't need mutually assured destruction, 7-year nuclear winter. And I've explained the risks associated, even for people with a Tesla plasma shield in underground cities, why it's better to avoid a world war and create universal peace. Proxy war, sure, but no really risky business with all these weapons of mass destruction surrounding us all. 7.5 billion people supposedly, so who knows what they have under their cancer-causing vaginal car motor hood, or in the back seat or whatever. Why would they put it in the back seat and not in the trunk? Makes no sense. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Please check next time on Perfect Society. Stay good, depart from evil and do good. Have fun. Don't forget to have fun, it can be very important. Laughing therapy, sex therapy, aromatherapy. Okay, thank you all for your likes and subscribes, awesome. And see you all next time on Perfect Society. And single ladies can always Skype Prologic999. I'd love conversation, and perhaps we could even date. It would be more original. Preferably single ladies in the Netherlands, around Meidrecht. And soon, if all goes well, I'll move to another area. And I don't know where that will be. We'll have to see. Preventing beats curing, survival is all. Recovery often begins with non-compliance. Often nowadays the cure is worse than the disease. Coronavirus kills only 2 to 4% of the people that it infects. For now, it can still mutate into something more deadly, so then people could get it again. It might not be out of their system, in theory. So it's not very deadly, and these drugs have loads of side effects and are potentially deadlier, because when a percentage, if 4% would die from the drug, basically, they would claim it's caused by the diseases that these people already had, these patients, and that they're legally immune to a certain extent, especially if a pandemic, like now, a pandemic has been declared, and then they have all these laws ready to reduce the global population. So they have continuity of government, not continuity of society. It's covered more in depth in my previous broadcasts. So I think we have to convince them, the people with the scalar technology, to do the right thing for themselves and humanity as a whole, and then they'll also make true friends, not friends that do what they want them to because they know otherwise they're tortured, etc., but because they really want to. Okay, thank you all for watching, and see you next time on Perfect Society. Peace out.